Well, hi and welcome to our Thursday midday stand. Great to have you with me today. Well, I hope you've been enjoying this series that we've been doing on our God who provides. And what incredible stories of testimonies of God's goodness we've been able to share, thanks to Rachel's abundant wealth of stories from Africa and beyond. But I know today we looked at a more challenging subject perhaps of what happens when God doesn't supply, or when it feels like there's such a delay and we don't understand both the timing of God and those questions of why God, why do you allow certain things to happen? And maybe you are facing those situations even right now in the midst of the unusual circumstances that we're in and wondering, God, why the delay? What's going on? Where is your supply? Where is your provision? If you care for me, God, what is going on right now? And you know, I was reflecting on those thoughts that Rachel shared with us, and especially this thought that she shared about watching for God's heart towards us rather than his hand extended to us. And knowing really that God really cares for us and his heart is for us, even when it's demonstrated in different ways. And I was thinking about the story of Job, obviously, is one of the classics on that subject. But these verses in particular from Job chapter 1, and it comes at the end of a chapter where, you know, the devil really has been in the face of God, accusing God and saying, this guy Job that you think is such a faithful follower of yours, he only follows you because of what you give him. And I was thinking of that little phrase that we used to use, or my mum used to use often when we were little, and she would say, oh, it's cupboard love. Basically, because I've produced a lovely meal for you, I've given you a gift, it's cupboard love that you love me. And we used to have this little teasy joke, and it was like, how much do you love me? Well, this much. And you know, just that thing that you do with little kids of is it cupboard love or is it real love? And it's like the enemy is in God's face saying, well, you know, Job only loves you because of what you give him. It's cupboard love. It's not real love. And then as that chapter, chapter 1 goes on, Job is stripped of every blessing that he's had. And at the end of that chapter 1, he says these words, Job says these words in verse 20. And at this Job got up and he tore his robe and he shaved his head. Then he fell to the ground in worship and said, naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will depart. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised, or some translations say, but blessed be the name of the Lord. And I find those verses incredibly challenging. And if I'm honest, I just think, God, how much of my love for you, with all the best will in the world, is because of the blessing that you pour out on me. In those seasons when it feels like you're withholding, God, do I still love you? I don't know if you ask those questions of yourself and ask those questions honestly before God, but I think that's just such an honest thing of, God, you know, we struggle. Why? Why some of these things? But do I really love you? Or is there something in me that has a kind of entitlement mentality that says almost I'm entitled to those things because I'm a child of God? And you know, we live in a culture that is so entitlement focused that we feel we are entitled to handouts from the government. We're entitled to healthcare. We're entitled to this, that and the other. And yet I love the fact that King David said, you know, everything I have comes from you, God, and anything I can give you is only what you've already given me. So there's no sense of that I'm entitled. There's no sense that I have anything to offer other than what you have already lavished on me. And that lavishing is a lavishing of pure grace. It's not that God owes us. It's not that, you know, we deserve it, but it's simply out of the sheer grace of God that he lavishes on us. And I believe that Job came to a very profound realization of that he says, you know, I came naked into the world. I had absolutely nothing. Anything I have now on earth is because of the sheer goodness of God towards me, not because I was entitled to it, but because God chose to give it to me. And anything I can give, I give out of that abundance. And it's up to God whether he gives or takes away. I love that amazing song that Matt and Beth Redman wrote a few years ago, Blessed Be Your Name. And it goes on, blessed be your name in the land that is plentiful, where the sun's shining down on me. Blessed be your name. But also blessed be your name when the road's marked with suffering, and I still choose to say, blessed be your name. And then it comes to those verses where that song says, you know, you give and take away, you give and take away, but my heart will choose to say, God, blessed be your name. And I was reflecting on that little verse, blessed be your name, also picked up by Job in verse 21 of that chapter 1 that I just quoted, and thinking about what it means to bless the name of the Lord when we have plenty or when we're in lack, to bless his name. And if you've been with me this week, I've done little word studies, and my word today really is, what does it mean to praise God when we feel the lack, to praise God when there is that apparent withholding and the blessing isn't flowing? What does it mean to still praise in those situations? Some translations say, praise be the name of the Lord. Others say, blessed be the name. But it's the same root word. And in the Hebrew, there are 7 words for what we loosely and maybe lazily translate praise God. And there are 7 words for praise in the Hebrew. And one of those words is this little one, blessed, or barach in the Hebrew. And it's really a word that says, I will praise kneeling down on my knees, surrendering to the one who is God, in acknowledgement that I am not God, but he is, and that he is worthy of my praise. And the posture is of a kneeling surrender to the God who is the amazing God, and acknowledging I am not God. And I believe that sometimes when I feel like, wow, God, you owe me, dare I even say that, or there's that slight entitlement edge to my understanding of the provision of God, I believe that comes when I almost put myself too much on a par with God. But actually, as created beings, even those that are elevated to the place of a child of God, we can never look in God in the face and say, you owe me, God. He is no man's debtor, and yet he chooses to give. But those amazing lessons that he teaches us in the time of lack, or the time of when it feels like there is God is on mute, as Rachel said, are those lessons that show just how much his heart is for us and how much he longs for real relationship with us, where it isn't about cupboard love and, as Rachel said, the extension of God's hand towards us, but that we as children of God truly know that he loves us and is for us, not because of what he can give us, but simply because he gives of himself, that his heart is for us. And so my prayer for just myself today, but also for you, is that I would come to that place of never ever having the slightest sense within myself that God owes me anything, but that actually I come to a place of knowing he lavishes on me because he truly loves me, but that I need to profoundly know that his heart is for me, so that I can profoundly say, wow, God, blessed be your name. I choose to bless you, not because of what you give me, but because of who you are, and that you are worthy of my praise. Whatever you're going through today, whatever the next days and weeks hold, may we come to that profound relationship with God, where it doesn't depend on transactions of what he can give and what we can give in return, but where we come to that place, almost like Job, of saying, God, you give and take away, but our hearts will still choose to say, blessed be your name. Let God take us on that journey, and let him provide for us out of the goodness that he has for us. May God really bless you today and upgrade your and my level of relationship with God, so that we can truly say, blessed be his name.